Yo, what's going on, guys? Savage here. I'm excited to bring you a video covering my graphic settings for Warzone. I'm going to show you guys what settings I use. I'm going to show you how they work, and I'm going to explain to you guys why it's so important in Warzone. Now, this is strictly for PC only, and also if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. If you are on console or you are using a Radeon graphics card, this video is not for you. But guys, since Warzone's release 2.5 months ago, I could not find the perfect setting to save my life. I tried different colorblind features, I tried different gamma and contrast features, and nothing really seemed to fix what I needed it to fix. So my problem in Warzone was the sun was too bright and the tree lines were too dark. I could never get a perfect balance. I couldn't see in windows, the shadows were really dark, and even if I raised my shadows, it would also increase the brightness of the sun, almost making it impossible to shoot at anybody in that direction. Now, even though the sun is still a pain in the ass and the glare will still get you, my settings and how I have them set now are the best I found so far. But guys, before we get into this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, join the Wolf Pack today. Also, leave a like on the video. Let's get this video to 200 likes and follow me on Twitch if you guys are interested in watching the gameplay live. So a friend of mine showed me these settings and I completely fell in love. I mean, instantly, I knew there was a difference. My gameplay instantly spiked and I was able to see targets at range. Their silhouettes were extremely visible. Now, if someone's on the ridge and there's a sun behind them, it's still a little hard to see them, but it's definitely possible. As opposed to before, I physically couldn't see anything in that direction. Now, first things first, again, this is for NVIDIA graphics cards only. You want to go ahead and open your GeForce Experience. Make sure that you have this in-game overlay on. Now, I will say the in-game overlay can be a pain in the ass at times, so if you need to change your hotkeys, you can do so. But go ahead and make sure you have this. Click to on. Now, once it's on, you can go into the settings. You can do a lot of different things. You can change the HUD layout. You can change your keyboard shortcuts. Of course, you can record all your gameplay, which I highly recommend you do not do. Also, broadcast live, do not do that. If you do any of these features right here, any of these three features, it will decrease performance of your system and you will drop frames. And as you guys know, frames win games. But regardless, if you guys want to mess with this, this is here. After you have that set up, of course, your default to open the dashboard is Alt-Z while you're in the game. So we're gonna go ahead and load up Modern Warfare. All right, so I already have my settings enabled. And as you can see, if you wanna judge my layout with your layout, my screen will probably be way brighter. All my shadows more crisp, all my details more crisp. Because of these graphic settings alone, your settings will look tip-top shape. Now, with the settings, you can always tweak them if you want. You have a different monitor with different brightness settings and things like that. Of course, you can kind of experiment with it and play with it. I've experimented a little bit with it, and I find that this is the best I found so far. Now, yes, you can actually do this while you're in a game. You don't have to keep closing your program out, going back in, and closing it out and going back in. So this is an absolute blessing. So what you're going to do, of course, is hit Alt-Z. That's going to bring up this menu. Click Game Filter. As you can see, you have style 1, 2, and 3. Now, I went ahead and pre-made these. Number 1 is actually what I use in Warzone. And this is what it looks like standard with no filter. If you notice, around the edges, around the sky, around the steam stack, basically anything, the game actually becomes more crisp when you enable these settings. You can also tell by the walls that the edges are very, very clear. You can tell by the roofs, the edges are very, very clear. And then again, it's a lot brighter, so it helps you see in shaded areas. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But back to standard settings again, guys. It gets a little blurry, get a little haze. It's a weird effect. I don't understand why the game comes standard like that. But this has definitely changed my outlook on it. As far as this being crucial in Warzone, guys, if you're shooting at an enemy at long distances, especially in tree lines and between buildings and stuff, you need to be able to see all the fine edges on everything. That way it doesn't just become a blur mess and it's hard to spot the target. If you can clearly see a head popping around, it makes your life so much easier. And trust me, with these settings, you're going to notice a drastic difference instantly. Now, I did play a little bit with filter 2, so I'll go ahead and show you guys what this filter looks like, and then we'll get into the settings. So, of course, this is style 1. This is when the filter is off. We'll go back to style 1, and then this is tweaked up a little bit more. It makes it a lot clearer. It takes a little color away, so it's why I don't run it mainly, but it makes it a lot clearer and a lot brighter. Your edges and your shadows will be a little distorted with the settings, so I definitely don't recommend it. So we're not going to really cover it today, but the secret settings, the secret sauce that nobody's telling you about, for NVIDIA GeForce cards. You have your sharpen, your clarity, your HDR toning, and your bloom. Now with your sharpen, of course, it's in the name. I run mine at 65. You'll notice if you go all the way down to 0 and all the way up to 100, you'll notice the drastic difference. If you look at the edges of the building in particular, keep your eye on that, and I will raise it up. And the white, the edges, it just pops more. It's more crisp, but 100 is too much. If you see right here, you get some distortion, especially around the edges. That's the last thing you want, because if you're looking in the distance and shooting somebody at long range, you don't want distortion. You want to see the only movement being the player, not the actual graphics jumping around. So I keep mine around 65. I think 65 is still maybe a little too high. I still have a little bit of distortion, but I am only running a 1080 right now until the 30 series come out. So if you have a 20 series graphics card, you might be able to get away with this without having any distortion. But as a rule of thumb, make sure you have it anywhere between 40 and 70. With testing, that just seems to look the best on the map. But again, I'm going back to 65 because that's where I like it. My clarity, I have set to 31. I try to get 30. Sometimes you can't hit the numbers for whatever reason, but 31 will be just fine. And if you notice, if you look at the picture, you drop the clarity, it becomes real blurry. It's almost like you have water on your eyes. And then you get it real crisp up to 100. And it's a little too much. It kind of makes it like a Borderlands effect. You know, it's got the outlining around the gun. Everything stands out a lot. It looks cool, and you might prefer this. If you do, awesome. If not, I definitely recommend running this between 60 and I would say 15. But we're going to go back to 30 or 31, and that's where we're going to leave that. Of course, clarity, it's in the name. Now, HDR toning kind of does the same thing, but with shadows. Clarity is more for like the ridges. HDR toning seems to be a shadow tool. So I run mine on 2. If you lower this all the way to negative 100, of course, your shadows stand out a lot more. It's a lot more contrasty. And then if you raise it a lot, your shadows are basically gone, and it's very bright. And it's almost like a Counter-Strike feel. Again, if this is what you prefer, if you like the way this looks, go ahead and run that. These settings are for your eyes, guys. It's what's going to help you play better in Warzone. When you have all this cover and all this shrubbery and all of the, you know, the distance and the clouds and the fog and things like that, what's going to make this game stand out better for your eyes? So again, I'm going to go back down to, actually, I might crank this beast up a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to crank this beast up to, I don't know. No, screw that. It was on 2. I'm cranking this beast up to 37 for sure. What's this one set at? 45. Yeah, this was a wrong setting. Correction. 37 is what I want this bad boy on. I think anything between 29 and maybe 45, 50 will be safe. You know what? No, fuck that. Let's crank it up to 41. 41. If you notice the white right here is a little too white, let's crank it out a little bit. Yeah. And then bloom. Now bloom's interesting as well. If you crank this up, it gets real bright, real fast. And then if you dominate it completely with 0, not that much of a difference, but I like to have a little bit going on here. So we're gonna put that bad boy back to 9. I really haven't played around with the bloom too much. I just feel like anything above 9 is kind of drastic. You can run standard as basically, you know, standard, but I do want a little bit more brightness. Now, when it comes to windows, and I told you guys we would discuss that. So if you're standing right here and you look at the window, you can see in it, kind of, right? Not perfect, but you can see in it. Now, with the game filter disabled, look how dark it is. Look how blurry it is. And then, of course, if you brighten it again, a lot better, a lot crisper. You can see the details in the brick. You can see the details of the shadow. You can see the details of everything. It's never about how pretty it is or how realistic it looks. It's all about performance. That's why back in PUBG, all the pros, we ran our graphics settings low. That's why in this game, people are messing with the graphics settings. And then, of course, with my other setting, you can select that as well. And you'll notice it gets a little bit brighter in that window. You'll notice right here, just look for the light. It gets a little bit brighter. Not much, but enough. Let's go ahead and sit here. If you look right here, normally, let's say somebody was camping right here and you turn the corner real quick. Off a glance, you wouldn't be able to see them. If you stare long enough, yeah, you can kind of define where the corner's at. You can kind of see where the door's. Yeah, okay. But off the glance, off a whim, you're not going to be able to see it. Why? Because this is actually what it looks like. If you look closely, you can kind of see the line right there, the line coming across. But when you take away all the filters with what you guys are seeing, you can't even see the lines. You can't see anything. The only reason I know there's lines there is because of the previous filter. It's real hard. It's real distorted. And you can only see when you ADS. That's when it clears up. It's almost like this glare is there, but for some reason, when you put your head behind your crosshair, it's gone. But guys, these settings are a must if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. I highly recommend you do this. I'm not sure if AMD has something similar. definitely look into that. If not, then I would recommend you go out and get an NVIDIA graphics card, because this is the way. Guys, if you run any other settings or any other kind of contrast settings, please let me know in my comment section below. If this helps you in any way, shape, or form, make sure you hit the subscribe button, join the Wolf Pack, hit the like button as well, and show some love in the comment section. But guys, y'all have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one. Yo, what's going on, guys? Savage here. I'm really excited to show you guys this video. I know this will change a lot of people's gameplay within Warzone. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. If you guys are interested in any tips or tricks video, I have how to get better at mouse and keyboard, and here's my tips and tricks series as far as Warzone is concerned. Y'all have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next video.